Hello, shooters. I'm Dr. Tactical. Today, we are looking at an optic that's trying to address the primary needs of a red dot user, but from a very different angle than most of the red dot companies out there. The entire philosophy behind the Shield Sights OMS-X is to get as close to possible as having just a dot floating above your firearm. No bulky housing, no unnecessary visual clutter, no giant cage around the emitter. Just a dot where your eye naturally wants it to be without the inevitable tunnel effect of the traditional housing unit. The goal here is speed, clarity, and removing distractions between you and your target. Now, I have spent some time behind this optic, and there is a lot to like, but there are also a couple things that gave me pause. Rather than front-loading those concerns, I want you to first hear directly from someone who designed this optic, who understands the intent behind it, and who can explain why certain decisions were made. So stay tuned until after the interview, because once we wrap, I'm going to come back and share a few concerns you should consider before deciding if this optic is right for you. So let's get into the interview. I'm Dr. Tactical, and the doctor will see you now. Hello shooters, Dr. Tactical here. I am here with James, who is the managing director and owner of
Shield Sights.
Shield Sights. And this is a booth I was walking by. I was on the bridge here at SHOT Show, and they had a sample out, and I picked it up and looked through it and thought this is really interesting. But it's counterintuitive, and I'm going to let him explain this to us. Go ahead.
Thank you. Hi guys. So this is our kind of OMS-X. We released an OMS-SC last year. The concept is an open-topped red dot. Now, the reason for that is that what we're trying to do is get to a point where almost there's no frame around that red dot. You know, I talked years ago about almost a holographic dot hovering above a gun with no frame. The reason for that is it is a bit of an obstruction. At times you can obstruct part of the target you're trying to look at or other areas that you're trying to focus on. But it also enables the lens to have a lot more light brought into it, which makes the dot look a lot crisper, kind of contrasts it better against its background, and allows more light onto the photodiode. A lot of our products are automatic adjusting, so there's no switches, there's nothing to turn it off, there's no shake awake, it's always on and ready for you to use, and this product just kind of makes that more efficient and improves its ability to do its job. So, yeah.
All right, so questions now. First of all, I mean, when you look at the top of this, you know, the first concern is strength.
Yep.
So tell me about that.
Actually, one of the things we found was by putting a polymer lid on top of it, what that does is it means that you've got some kind of impact resistance. Now, when you have aluminium's great to a point, and then it will bend, buckle, and break, right? Which means when it buckles, it's strong enough to be able to shatter the lens behind it. So actually what we found is that this product is most likely and more like durable than an aluminium top, depending on what height you're dropping it from. But again, at the same time, it's bonded into the bottom of the bottom of the body, so you don't have to worry about, you know, it coming out, breaking from there.
All right, good. And so it certainly appears to be significantly lighter than most optics. So you got the light, and I got to tell you, just looking through this right now, the glass is crystal clear. And for some reason, even though I can't see through the angle I'm looking at, I really get the feeling like it is almost holographic. So, all right, let's talk about the battery.
Yep.
Talk about that.
So we got a 2032 battery in there. It gives you about 1 to 3 years like battery life. As I mentioned earlier, it's automatic adjusting. So if you're in a very bright environment, the dot's going to be up nice and bright all the time. You might need to change your battery a bit sooner. But like we're saying, you're relying on something you can go to all the time, not worrying whether you turned it on or off or anything else. So to have that feature, to me, is more important in a daily kind of defensive environment or anywhere. As you said, you've made the point about the body being quite light. The product is extremely light. A lot of our products are very light, and it's what we work on. Now, the other thing that you guys won't be able to see here right now, but we actually have a co-witness because the product's so low into the gun. So that also enables you to transition to using a red dot a lot easier when you pick up a product.
It is really
which means
flat.
As you present the gun, you can very easily find the red dot.
Yeah, that's absolutely the case. So the battery changing requires removal of the dot.
Yeah, let me go into that, right?
Yeah.
So again, our footprint.
I know that's something, a big concern people have.
Correct. So the RMSC footprint, it's a Shield RMSC footprint, right? We designed it was done 30 years ago. So it's become an industry standard maybe 10 years ago, but it's been in place for a long time. It has 4 recoil lugs, front and back, and it has 2 mounting screws. that means that you can pretty much remove the sight, change the battery, put it back on, and it's almost held zero in perfectly. We're about, maybe you might see a shift by about an inch or half an inch, but outside of that, nothing. You're not going to be shooting at something and it'd be way off target. I'm not saying don't check it, but it does mean that we've got a very repeatable system when you put it back on top of the gun.
Okay. So what I mean by this being counterintuitive, it's the exact opposite direction that everybody's going in right now. I mean, people are putting these mailboxes on top, and I'm thinking, well, wait a second, everybody, now we're going back to the problem if stuff gets in here, but you can just reach in and clean this. I could clean that with my thumb if mud got in there.
It's big enough to do that, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, that's sort of the opposite way of dealing, because the same thing would happen if mud got on your mailbox on either side. One of the enclosed ones, it can still get on the glass, but you have easy access to that. So the only concern would be something blocking the emitter, I guess, to it.
Yeah, something can get inside the emitter. I mean, these enclosed optics are important. We have a line of those within our product range. But again, it's horses for courses, right? Some people want something open, some people want something enclosed. The enclosed product does create an awful lot more weight on the pistol. It doesn't mean that it stops it cycling properly, but you've got something else to holster that's a bit more discomfortable. You've got to find the right things for the right person. So these products are, as we've said, light. They fit within a pretty good envelope. But yeah, we have open, we have closed, etc.
Well, yeah, and realistically speaking, I'm sort of thinking as you're talking, if something did really get embedded into that emitter, it really does very nicely co-witness. Right? So yeah, that would not be a problem.
I mean, these are features we've been thinking about. We get it low to bore, so you get a co-witness, you get it open. What we're trying to do is make people better shooters and make it easier for them to be able to engage with the target quicker than anything else, right?
Right.
So that's what we're stuck to, and that's where our feature line's always been. You see a lot of products that are building up off the gun that become very cumbersome and hard to use.
Absolutely.
They take out and obstruct an awful lot of the target area. These are all things that may be thought to be being missed maybe at times, but it's something we're thinking about all the time, and our design and engineering is very much driven into kind of coming up with those solutions.
I appreciate the simplicity of it, but yet it's really well thought out. Thank you very much, James. I really appreciate this.
Yeah, thanks very much for your time.
All right, welcome back. Now that you've heard the philosophy, the intent, and the engineering decisions behind the OMS-X, let's talk about a couple of the real-world considerations. Now, these aren't deal breakers, but they are things you should know. The first issue is the battery. To change it, the optic has to be removed from the firearm. To be fair, the manufacturer has gone to great lengths to ensure that when the optic is reinstalled, it should return very close to its original zero. But the reality is simple. Anytime an optic comes off a gun, you're introducing variables: mounting pressure, torque consistency, surface contact. And while it may return to zero most of the time, I'm personally not a fan of anything that requires removal just to maintain power. That doesn't make it bad, and plenty of shooters will be perfectly comfortable with that. But it does mean you absolutely should confirm zero after a battery change, especially if this is a carry gun. The second concern is the self-regulating brightness. Under normal conditions, it works very well. The optic reads ambient light around the housing and it adjusts the dot accordingly. And to the best I can tell, this system works quite well, but it cannot be manually overridden. Unfortunately, there are scenarios where this can become a limitation. If you're in a darker environment, shooting into a bright area, the optic may think it's darker than it actually is, resulting in a dot that isn't quite bright enough, and that can cause a problem. And also, the reverse can happen. If you're in a brightly lit area, shooting into a shaded area, the dot could become brighter than ideal and potentially obscure fine detail. This isn't unique to the OMS-X. It's a limitation of any system that bases brightness on the ambient light near the optic rather than what's happening downrange. But not having the ability to manually override that brightness is a concern for me. Now, after talking about the concerns, it's important to talk about what the OMS-X does very well, because this optic intentionally goes against the current industry trend. Right now, everything is moving toward enclosed emitters. The logic is simple: protect the emitter from debris. And that makes sense. But the OMS-X asks a different question. Do we really need to enclose the emitter, or can we solve the same problem another way? Yes, the emitter's exposed. It doesn't block debris the way an enclosed optic does, but the OMS-X addresses that concern differently. First, it allows for extremely easy co-witnessing. So if something does obstruct the dot, your irons are immediately available. Second, because the emitter is so exposed, if debris does get on it, you can clear it instantly with a quick finger sweep. No tools, no disassembly, no panic. So it accomplishes the same functional goal, maintaining usability, without mounting a literal mailbox on top of your firearm. For shooters who value a clean sight picture, reduced visual bulk, and the feeling of a dot floating in space, the trade-off may very well be worth it. The OMS-X doesn't solve problems by building a bigger box. It solves them by getting out of the way. No mailbox, just a dot. Now, if you found this video helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you'd like and hype. You know what I'm talking about if you're a hyper. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. And as always, share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Remember, train smart, carry often, and most importantly, stay tactical, my friends. Stay tactical. I'm Dr. Tactical. Dr. Tactical, out.